Hello, my name is Emily Spain, and I chose to do my project on how casting entities can move the theater world to a more progressive stance or keep it stagnant. So first, I want to start on how theater is used as a form of escape. Actors use it as a chance to escape who they are. They do this by taking on different roles and different characters and walking in their shoes for a while. And audiences use it as a chance to leave reality. So as soon as they walk through the door for 1, 2, maybe 3 hours, they don't have to think about anything that was going on in their life before. They can just watch someone else's life up on the stage. But theater is more than just a form of escape. It can also be used to lead social changes. So yes, theater can be used as an escape, but it can also make people feel isolated, particularly those of color. For them, theater can make them feel more rejected than accepted. The fear of rejection in theater. People of color walk into an audition knowing that the audition could go two drastically different ways. One, they could be greeted with open arms. Two, they could be cut before they're given a fair chance. There has been a slow increase of acceptance for people of color by casting agencies and producers over the years. But there are still some agencies that are reluctant to change their ways, that they cast based on skin color and not talent. This is seen because, say you have a person of color up against a person who's not of color, and they could be more talented for the role, but the casting agency may still go with this one just solely based on their skin color, not based on that talent, which is sad. So these theaters are stuck in the ways of the past, when in the past, most leads were played by people not of color, and people of color are often seen as the comedic side character. BIPOC, Demands for White American Theater, is an article that was released a few years back that talks about all the different ways and all the different changes that need to be made to make theater an inclusive environment for all actors. First, it says that directors and producers need to become more diverse and equal. It says that you need to do better if you are to earn our trust. You can't be anti-racist if your leadership is predominantly white. That is a quote that I pulled straight from the article, and is particularly talking about TELSEY and Company. Now, TELSEY and Company is one of Broadway's dominant casting agencies, and they have been reluctant to change for years, and they are one of the oldest, so it's pretty sad. Out of their 50 people in their casting team, only 4 are people of color. So 4 out of 50. This means that people of color are walking into audition knowing that they may not have anybody on the casting team that represents them particularly. So Britton Smith brought up this comment to the head of TELSEY and Company and said, these conversations that you're having with your office that's predominantly white, have you had to bring in somebody or bring in people of color who share more stories and more ways of thinking about it? What he's basically telling the head of TELSEY and Company here is that there's only 4 on your casting team out of 50 that are people of colors. So how are you making the needed changes if you aren't hearing all the different struggles that go on? It's not equal. So TELSEY and Company in their big shift. They recently did make one of Broadway's most monumental casting decisions in years. This was seen when they first casted the first person of color as Christine in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway since the start of its 35-year run. So Christine Vidaye is the lead in Phantom of the Opera, and they casted actress Emily Cachu, and she has now gone on to being the main Christine. So she's on for more shows than anybody else. Incredible. So this gives children of color a chance to see someone that looks like them in one of Broadway's biggest roles, and one of theater's biggest roles at that. This is a musical that's known around the world by most everybody. And so it's so monumental for those kids to get the chance to see someone and to have someone to look up to. So CSA and Jason Strauss. Now, Jason Strauss runs a very intentional, inclusive casting agency, basically. And he's been making headlines for it. His first headliner was when he casted the first all-Black production of Next to Normal. Now, Next to Normal is a musical that covers a lot of different mental health struggles and what this family goes through with those different struggles. So, casting an all-Black production highlights the fact that people of color go through these mental health struggles too, and it's not just the white community. And he also casted Kyla Stone, a person of color, as Anastasia in the second national tour. Now, Anastasia has been on Broadway and touring for 5 years, but this is the first time anyone of color has been able to tell her story. And in an interview, Stone talked about how much it meant to her by saying, "It feels right. It feels like it was earned, but at the same time, it was such a gift and it's unreal." This quote was mentioned after she talks about that she looked up to Audrey McDonald, and that's all she basically had to look up to when she was growing up. So she feels honored to be able to give that to the children, which she had no chance of seeing growing up. So this is very important. This is colorblind casting versus color conscious casting, which often get confused, but they're two very different things. So these definitions come from an article by Delaware Shakespeare. Colorblind casting or non-traditional casting is the practice of casting without considering the actor's ethnicity, skin color, body type, sex, and or gender. So that's basically when an agent goes and says, okay, so anyone who walks this door, I'm not going to pay attention to any of that. I'm just going to cast solely on talent. Color conscious casting is when you do basically the opposite of colorblind casting. It's taking into consideration the actor's skin color, body type, and other characteristics and being like, okay, I'm going to cast this thing equal on both sides. So it looks at more than just the talent. And this is my works cited page. So yeah, thank you for watching.